Shalu shalom Yerushalayim, Yisrael vayim, Yehi shalom v'cheres, Shalva behar menotayik, Leman chai v'reyai, Adonai shalom bach, Leman et Adonai Eloheinu, Havakshat Tavach, Leman et Adonai Eloheinu, Havakshat Tovach.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to everyone as we are entering into this beautiful, wonderful Shabbat in this awful weather of San Diego that we have, this time where we come together, this time where we're finding people physically with us here, those in our online community, and I invite all of you that are here to turn around, wave to those white cameras in the back, to say hello, to join our communities together as one in this wonderful time that we are on this Shabbat. It's a special time. It's a hard time. In this moment, we just commemorated yesterday Yom HaShoah, a time when we think of the evils, the tyranny, the genocide, the pains that ill our society, the worst of humanity, that we commemorate each and every year at this time. And yesterday we reflected on that Wednesday evening. We were at the Kriya Garden reflecting on that as a community. And then we roll into the week, we roll into Shabbat, we celebrate some simcha with those who are becoming bar and bat mitzvah, and then we enter into, once again, Yom HaZikaron. Yom HaZikaron, the day of remembrance, like our Memorial Day in Israel. A day that's somber, a day where sirens are blasted, just as they were on Yom HaShoah. A day where the entire state of Israel pauses to take a break, to take a moment, to reflect. And then most immediately, the evening right after at sunset, the entire state of Israel transitions into celebration. Imagining the Memorial Day and the 4th of July, one after the other. Because in our tradition, we never rest on the pains and sit in the pains and our tragedies. We always know that there can be, through resilience, through strength, through love, there can be blessing and joy. And we hold on to that. So this time is a very special, it's actually called the High Holy Days of Israel. The time where we really reflect on those powerful, powerful holidays that are coming upon us. So you heard, right at the beginning, some Israeli melodies, and that was upon reflection of our time in this moment. And this evening, we're also privileged because we're going to hear some voices, those who've engaged in the embodied act of conversion to become a part of our Jewish community, as this is our annual Outreach Shabbat. Two voices, two beautiful souls who will share their unique individual journey as they elected to take the steps that brought them into the covenant between God and Israel. And we'll hear their beautiful journeys. And tonight we will also call upon those who've taken and endeavored into a year of study in our congregation, our Intro to Judaism students. I know some of you and your families are here tonight. We're going to honor you in this moment because, in truth, you brought to this time thoughtfulness. You've brought your questions and questions and questions. And our tradition holds questions as incredibly sacred and valuable. So we're going to honor you tonight also, as I know your presence is deeply felt, and we were honored to endeavor with you along that journey this past year. As I know that tomorrow morning, we will celebrate the Bat Mitzvah of Emma Kuhn, and tomorrow afternoon, we delight in the B'nai Mitzvah of Benjamin and Brandon Katsky. And I know that I delight in calling upon the Katsky family to join us on the Bima this evening. And I'm looking around, there they are, right there. There they are in the back. And so I'd love for you to come on up, our Katsky family. I believe Emma has just traveled on a 5-day outward bound kind of experience. Nothing like doing that the eve before you become bat mitzvah, getting ready. But we'll see her tomorrow morning, and an early mazel tov to the Kuhn family. Yeah, when I called upon the Katsky family, it's a whole family, so come on up, come on up. Before we begin our service this evening, I invite you to turn to someone around you, behind you, in front of you. Wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Those on our online community, I invite you to share a word of gratitude, a word of welcome in the chat box. We begin Kabbalat Shabbat, page 332. We join together with the Yedid Nefesh. Back in our prayer books, page 20, L'chadadi, Likrat Kala. We join together.
Shabbat,
turn to page 146 as we call each other to worship with Baruch Hu. We pray responsively on page 147. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom.
Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures.
Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv, Aravim. Responsively on page 148, in each age we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment we are addressed by the world.
In each age we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment we stand face to face with truth.
In each age we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder.
In each age the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Please be seated, and we invite Benjamin and Brandon to lead us in Ve'ahavta. Page 150.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
When I was a kid, sometimes we would play this game in school where they would say, if you only could take 3 things with you and you had to leave your house, what would you take? And the answers ranged from, I would take pictures of my family, I would take my diploma, I would take my passport. And I always thought that was such a wonderful way of thinking and preparing for a worst-case scenario. But there's another way of looking at this. If you were put in a position where you were liberated, what would you take with you? What would you carry forward? Our Mi Chamocha prayer is a part of every day's liturgy. And it reminds us that this is one thing that we can take forward, that we can take into our future. The story of our redemption, the story of our liberation, so that we can help facilitate the liberation of all those who are enslaved. Page 152, we join together in Mi Chamocha.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu Shomereinu L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu Shomereinu L'chaim. V'hamidenu Shomereinu L'chaim. Ushmor Tzeitzenu Uvoenu L'chaim U'shalom Me'ata ve'ad Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu Shomereinu L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu
Page 154, Vishamru.
Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat l'dorotam berit olam. B'nei uven b'nei Yisrael u'etin le'olam, u'etin le'olam, u'etin le'olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, la'asot et HaShabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Ki she'bir hasa Adonai et hashamayim et haaretz veshamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabbat la'asot et hashabbat לדורותם מריתו עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם מריתו עולם.
וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. As Rabbi Navar has mentioned, we are in the midst of the Israeli Chagim, the Israeli High Holy Days. And many of the melodies that we've heard have come from Israeli composers. The melody we'll use this evening for our opening to the Amidah, Adonai Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, comes to us from a Reformed congregation, Beit Tefillah Yisraeli. We hope that you'll join in the nigun and also in the words. But even if you don't know the words, Yai Lai Lai are perfectly acceptable words as they convey the same meaning. Adonai, open my lips, that our mouths may declare your praise. We rise together on page 155. Yai Lai 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 Lai, Yai Lai Lai Lai. Individually through page 167. You may be seated when you have completed your Amidah. shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, We pray for peace. We pray for peace externally. And we also pray for peace internally, so that each of us and each of our loved ones may have a complete healing, a healing of completeness. When we say refuah shlema, we are saying we understand that you are broken, and we hope that you are soon whole. This Shabbat in our congregation, we are especially mindful of Nicola Hadian, Ari Zalman Leib Ben Shoshana Umoshe, Bob Berenson, Lauren Berman, Pam Carno, Harriet Dickinson, Grayson DeNovo, Dr. Robert Fox, Denise Garrick, Nancy Gordon, Elliot Goldstein, Robert Gruder, Alan Hoppenstock, Ellen Hutt, Beth Johnson, Ruthie Jordan, Richard Kitson, Marshall J. Lewis, Claudia Liebenson, Maria Luro, Michal Liran Bat Yael, Jim McIndoe, Yoram Minnis, Ala Naidenova, Lynn Richard, Sharon Ritter, Galina Rubolchenko, Jeannie Schnitzer, Rhonda Schwartz, Ilana Schaefer, Bernard Stein, Steph Streichler, Lynn Slotkin, Bob Shearer, Cindy Spector, Gerald Trimble, David Tossman, Fred Valfer, Kathy Weil, John Weil, George Wise, Sandy Wood, Tovi Evan, and Gail Zides. Perhaps there's a name on your heart. I invite you to share that name as our eyes meet. We offer our prayer for healing.
הרופא לשבורי לב ומכבש לעצבותם מונה מספר לכוכבים לכולם שמות יקרא הרופא לשבורי לב ומכבש לעצבותם מונה מספר לכוכבים לכולם שמות יקרא Healer
One of the most important and beautiful things I think that we can do here as rabbis, and I think my colleagues will agree with me, is to teach Judaism. And our Introduction to Judaism class is an extraordinary, every year, an extraordinary group of people. Tonight we get to hear from two of our students. One, Dr. Rich Labano, who is now in our adult B'nai Mitzvah class, and his bar mitzvah will be next Friday night. We invite you back so that you come and celebrate with him and 11 of his classmates. He was in last year's Introduction to Judaism class. And Mary Morado, who actually studied in the university, the Union for Reform Judaism course for Introduction to Judaism, and has been a member of our congregation. They both attend services, they both spend time in our tribe group, and they both have made a difference in the short time that they've been here. It's a remarkable thing to teach someone and then have them teach you. So Rich will come and teach us now, and then Mary will come to us from the modern technology wonders.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Rich Labano, as you know from Rabbi Cantor's warm introduction. Many of you already know me as a member of Beth Israel, but what you might not know until tonight is that I only recently converted to Judaism. I'm humbled and honored to share the story of my Jewish journey with you. In telling my story, I hope to convey what being a Jew and a part of Beth Israel means to me. In retrospect, I see myself as always having had a Jewish soul. It just took me decades to unravel and integrate my identity. I was born in South Jersey and raised in a Catholic family. My hometown was 100% Christian, and I didn't have Jewish friends because there simply weren't any Jewish people to befriend. I participated in my parents' religion because it was important to them that I learn right from wrong and that I complete the same milestones that the rest of my family had. But it didn't feel like a perfect fit. My introduction to Judaism started early on in college. I attended Princeton University, and my major extracurricular activity was musical theater. I quickly formed friendships with many Jews, some more secular, some more religious. But I also learned actively about Judaism, and we were reenacting Jewish stories by Jewish authors. I often got mistaken for Jewish, and when my friends would joke about this, the thought of one day converting couldn't help but cross my mind. I continued to feel most at home in the outskirts of the Jewish community throughout medical school, where many of my friends, again, happened to be Jewish. It would take nearly a decade, however, before I finally ended up at Beth Israel. I was going through a variety of personal circumstances, best described as a Mitzrayim. I felt completely alone in the world, without community, without support, without guidance, questioning everything. But I did realize, I believed in something. I did believe in God and the Torah. I wanted to enter the covenant. It took a bit of time to find the right synagogue, but I eventually set up a meeting with Rabbi Gimbel in late February 2020, mere weeks before the COVID pandemic started. Perfect timing. But I immediately felt like I was at home here at Beth Israel. With COVID, however, Zoom did not seem like it would be conducive to the process of converting, or building any sort of community for that matter. Yet, I was able to sing along to Erev Shabbat services at home and tune into Torah study on Saturday mornings. I'd find my own ways to celebrate Shabbat, exploring nature, reading about Judaism, reflecting and meditating. After the High Holy Days, the Introduction to Judaism class finally started. Not only did I enjoy learning, but I also bonded with my classmates despite Zoom and COVID. I celebrated as everyone did when we had our first in-person service and other parts of Beth Israel life began to resume in person. I continued learning from all three of our rabbis in various ways and meeting with Rabbi Navarez regularly. After the pandemic, I eventually had the unique distinction of having the first Beit Din and mikveh in person. Though, of course, then the pandemic continued, but here we are today in person. And at that time of my conversion, Rabbi Navarez reminded me that this was just the beginning of a new journey. and I've taken that to heart ever since. I began to sing with the Zimriah chorale at the most recent High Holy Days and started the adult B'nai Mitzvah class shortly thereafter. I've been studying Hebrew and cantillating Leviticus chapter 19, verse 9, in preparation for the Erev Shabbat service next week. That will be led by our class. And I even got to sing a solo at last week's service. I'm continuing to grow in my Jewish identity and giving everything I can to the Beth Israel community to live my best Jewish life. And I know that my Jewish journey will continue even after becoming bar mitzvah. In Torah, Ruth is considered to be a model for the convert. In the first chapter of the book of Ruth, Ruth's mother-in-law Naomi is faced with the successive losses of her husband and her 2 sons. Feeling she is cursed, she encourages Ruth and her other daughter-in-law to leave her. But Ruth is unflinchingly loyal to Naomi and steadfastly refuses to leave her side, following her back to her community in the process. Verses 16 and 17 read, Ruth replies, "Do not urge me to leave you, to turn back and not follow you. For wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. Thus and more may the Lord do to me, if anything but death parts me from you." These verses express the sentiment of how I felt towards Beth Israel and its congregants, the Jewish community, and Israel, an unflinching loyalty and love. I've found a spiritual home and a community that has accepted me and nurtured me in a way I haven't felt before, religious or otherwise. Thank you so much for your warm welcome and friendship. I look forward to many more years of singing, of trips to Israel with Rabbi Navarez, of tribe groups, and I don't want to delay Nosh any longer, but I do want to take a moment to thank Rabbi Navarez, Rabbi Cantor Bernstein, and Rabbi Gimbel for their support, teaching, and guidance, as well as all the opportunities you provided me, such as the opportunity to address you all this evening. Thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Beth Israel. My name is Mary, and I'm really honored to be here speaking to you tonight. I've been asked to talk about my Jewish journey, and I actually converted to Judaism in December, which is very, very exciting. But my story started back in December of 2016. It's a bit of a unique one. I was traveling in Southeast Asia, and I was meeting other backpackers, and a lot of them were from Israel. And I found that I was really, really enjoying the Israelis I was meeting. I was enjoying their way of conversing and being, and I got close to a group of them and started to learn more about Shabbat when it was Fridays, and we were together, or Israel, or their life in Israel, a variety of different things. And I got very close to them, and they said at one point, "Mary, I think you should really go to Israel. I think you would love it there." And so I decided to book flights to go, and I planned to spend 1 month there. And the Israelis that I had met when I was traveling connected me to their friends who were in Israel. So for a month, I was kind of passed around the country, and I was staying in different people's houses, and it was a very neat experience, because rather than staying in hotels, I got to be inside of people's homes. I got to experience Passover and Shabbat dinners and learn what a mezuzah is, and see some homes that had separate sinks for meat and milk, and all of these things that were completely eye-opening to me and different than anything I'd ever experienced before or knew about. And it was really, really interesting. And actually my very first night in the country was the night for the Pesach Seder. And I was brought to a family's home for it, and it was 6 hours long. It was eye-opening. I had never seen all of these different rituals and customs and the way you say all these different things, let alone the Seder plate on the table with the bitter herbs and, everything. And I remember sitting there feeling like a sponge, just absorbing it all up. And it was all in Hebrew, but one of the people who was there translated for me almost the entire time. So I learned a lot. It was a very long night, but it was the start to a month filled with more enjoyment of Israelis, just like I had on my trip, but being exposed to Hebrew, loving hearing the Hebrew and the music and the country, seeing its beauty, but also getting to visit the old city of Jerusalem and the Western Wall and synagogues around the country and a whole variety of different things. And of course, every Friday night, observing the whole country, a lot of the country at least, shutting down to observe Shabbat. And I was in different people's homes for Shabbat each Friday. And something about it just really grabbed at my heart. I remember getting on the flight to leave after a month there, feeling really sad, but also realizing that I had a feeling inside of me that was different than anything I had experienced before. Something about this place had really grabbed a hold of me. And over the next 4 years, I ended up spending 1.5 years in total living there. And that feeling never went away. It's kind of like an indescribable feeling, really, that I have, that I feel a connection. When I'm there, it feels like home to me. And, I woke up 1 year ago and realized that feeling hadn't gone away. And I hadn't gone more than a few days, probably, without thinking about Israel for 6 years. And not only was it Israel, but it was, throughout my time there, it started to be this feeling of like, I feel like I belong there. I feel like I'm supposed to be a part of these people. And I would notice some thoughts come up sometimes where I was thinking, wow, I feel like I was supposed to be born a Jew. I feel like I was supposed to be born in Israel. Or I remember at one point watching Prince of Egypt, and I started crying. Like, I felt so emotional watching it, and I remember thinking, why am I crying? These aren't even your people, Mary. But I think it was a really strong sign to me, in combination with these experiences that I'd had in Israel, that connection was really strong inside of my heart. And so 1 year ago, when I woke up, I also decided that I was going to make living in Israel and being a part of the Israeli people a reality, and also convert to Judaism. And so I started synagogue shopping, as you do, in San Diego, and Beth Israel immediately captured my heart. I mean, it's such a beautiful synagogue, and the music is amazing. I absolutely love it. And the cherry on top to all of it was my meeting with Rabbi Bernstein to see if she would be my converting rabbi, but also for her to learn more about me. And we just had a conversation that just made me feel so warm, welcomed, and accepted into the Beth Israel family right from the start. And so I started my 9-month process, or I think it ended up being closer to 1 year, process of converting. And that included doing an Introduction to Judaism class, and it also involved regular meetings with Rabbi Bernstein and going to synagogue each Friday, attending for all of the different major synagogue services for the Hagim. And it has been such an interesting and exciting and fulfilling ride since I started. And Rabbi Bernstein, I think, will be the first person to say that I am such a different person now than when I first started. When I first started, I felt very timid and hesitant, and am I sure I'm going to make such a big life change? But as I went through everything and I started to learn more and more about Judaism, I realized that so much of what I love about Israel was actually rooted in Judaism. And so much of what I have learned has resonated so deeply for me and has made my excitement about Israel so much stronger. But I also came to the point partway leading up to my Beit Din and my mikvah where I realized that I was just as excited about becoming a part of the Jewish tribe as I was about moving to Israel. And it stays that way to this day. I had my conversion, my Beit Din and my mikvah in December of last year. And I still look back on that and it makes me smile so much. It just makes me feel warm and happy inside. I'm so happy to be a part of the Jewish tribe, the Jewish family, the Beth Israel family with all of you. And I'm actually making Aliyah to Israel later this year. And I'm very excited about that. I'm excited to see where my Jewish journey is going to go. And yeah, I think that about sums it up. If you see me around, please feel free to come up to me. I chose Maya as my Hebrew name, and I respond to and love being called either Maya or Mary. So it is up to you, but please do come up to me. I would love to meet you. And yeah, I think that's all I have. Shabbat Shalom.
We have a word in Yiddish called nachas. And there's a lot of nachas that we're feeling right now. It's the feeling of joy and contentment and honor when we think of Mary and when we think of Rich. And I see a number out there that have been through this process and have joined our community. And I know there are more down the road. And it warms our hearts to know how much you've evolved in your own space and place and time, and look forward to much more with you as we continue along this path. And this has been the journey that we've been on. Every year we have a number of individuals, either that grew up with perhaps limited Jewish identity and wanted to explore more about their own culture and text and tradition, and others who are brand new and knew nothing about anything about Judaism and wanted to come and learn more. And so comes our Intro to Judaism class. And we are very excited because I know there are a number of you here who are our participants, and I'm going to invite you up in and around the bima this evening, if you are able to come forward, because we'd like to honor you. So if you were in our Intro to Judaism class this year, we'd like you to come on up. You're going to come on, if you can, we'll come on to the bima. This has been a very interesting time. Rich mentioned it, that his class was all virtual, online, and this class was more of a diverse access experience, right? Sometimes it was in person, sometimes it was online, but it has been a wonderful, wonderful journey with you. So I'm going to invite you to turn to the Ark, because the Ark is where we hold our sacred scroll. And the Ark is where we becomes the Torah, and the Ark becomes the foundation, the lifeblood of how we do what we do. And so this offering that we give to you today, and then I'll invite my colleagues to join with us in a blessing over you. This is the blessing of learning and becoming. May the one who blessed our mothers and fathers before us bring blessing upon our committed learners of Torah and Jewish life as they join us tonight, knowing that the scroll comes to life only when we make the effort to search out its meaning for our lives, so their search for Jewish truth and spirit ever grow. As each of you stand before Torah tonight here with our loving Beth Israel family all around, so wherever life's journey leads, may you always know we are beside you each and every step. And we celebrate in this moment the completion of learning, embraced by this congregation and community. So may they always know, with many sacred discoveries down the road ahead, we will always be your synagogue home. So in health and wholeness, with sweetness and with goodness, may God's presence be with each and every one of you as we come together in celebration of your commitment for years and years, a lifetime of living and learning yet to come, as we say together, Amen. So I'm going to invite you to turn back this way. And one of the very special things we get to do on Shabbat, as Shabbat comes on, we offer a blessing. We offer a blessing of priestly benediction coming from the book of Numbers. And so we offer this to you tonight in these words.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and protect each of you.
Ya'ir Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. May God's face shine upon each of you as you continue your path of learning and growth with graciousness and with peace.
Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's presence be with each and every one of you. May you be granted health and long life, the courage to fill your life with much joy, with much blessing, and most of all, blessing of peace. As we say, Amen.
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 This time I'd like to call upon the immediate past president of our congregation, Kim Carno.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. As the Rabbi just said, my name is Kim Carno, a member of your board of directors. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our service this evening. We're glad you can join us in person and virtually. Thank you to the Men's Club for ushering tonight. Thank you to our incredible high band. And thank you to Mary and Rich, our speakers this evening, for sharing their Jewish journeys as part of our Outreach Shabbat programming. Mazel Tov to our 24 Introduction to Judaism class graduates. This weekend, we will celebrate 3 B'nai Mitzvot. Mazel Tov to Emma Kuhn and family, and Benji and Brandon Katsky and family. Next Shabbat is the Adult B'nai Mitzvah celebration. We hope you will attend. Join us next weekend as well at our gala to celebrate 25 years of Rabbi Cantor Bernstein being at Beth Israel. And don't forget to RSVP for our annual meeting, May 18th. That's your opportunity to vote for new board members. And I have on good, somebody said to me that we'll also have an opportunity there to vote for which president, past or present, is the wittiest. For information on any of our upcoming events, go to the website, cbisd.org, or call to speak with one of our many talented staff members. This Shabbat, I was struck by the words of Nadine Stair, age 85. If I had my life to live over, I'd dare to make more mistakes next time. I'd relax, I would limber up. I would be sillier than I have been this trip. I would take fewer things seriously. I would take more chances, I would take more trips. I would climb more mountains and swim more rivers. I would eat more ice cream and less beans. I would perhaps have more actual troubles, but I'd have fewer imaginary ones. Oh, I've had my moments, and if I had it to do over again, I'd have more of them. In fact, I'd tried to have nothing else, just moments. I've been one of those people who never go anywhere without a thermometer, a hot water bottle, a raincoat, and a parachute. If I had to do it again, I would travel lighter next time. If I had to live my life over, I would start barefoot earlier in the spring and stay that way later in the fall. I would go to more dances. I would ride more merry-go-rounds. I would pick more daisies. This Shabbat and in the days ahead, may you have more moments and eat less beans. Shabbat Shalom.
I think you had that last one just at the wittiest. Wittiest.
Won't you please turn to page 278? We are in the period of time of counting the omer. In ancient times, a sheaf of wheat. In our times, an emotional day, a trip from the second night of Passover until the holiday of Shavuot to the receiving of Torah. And we prepare ourselves for that holiday emotionally and by counting. So here on the screen, and please join with me, Hineni mukhan umzuman lekayem mitzvat aseh shel sfirat haomer. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the omer. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the omer. Hayom, Arba Esrei Yom Shehem Shnei Shavuot LaOmer. Today is 14 days, which is 2 weeks of the Omer. Not only do we count, but we prepare for a new moon. We are getting ready for the new month of ER, page 261. Rosh Chodesh Iyar Yiyeh B'Yom Sheni. The new moon and the new month of ER will begin on Monday.
May it be your will, God my God, and God of my ancestors, that the coming month bring us peace, full life and blessing. May the promise of your new moon fill us with well-being. Guide us as we grow, making us complete. May it be your will, God my God, Adonai of my ancestors, that the coming month bring us peace, full life and blessing. May the promise of your new moon fill us with well-being. Guide us as we grow, making us complete. מי שעשה ניסים לאבותינו, מי שעשה ניסים לאמותינו, מי שעשה ניסים לאבותינו, מי שעשה ניסים לאמותינו.
We begin to conclude this joy-filled service with Aleinu, page 282. Won't you please rise if you're able?
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד.
please be seated. We turn to page 294. And we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. When you hear the name of your loved ones, we invite you to rise so that we may comfort you as a community. We are in the period of Shloshim, the 30 days after the burial, for Gertrude Greenwald, Harry Leitner, Michael Sitzer, and Karen Romer. And we remember those who died at this time in years past. David Adam Alper, Paul Shalom Amber, Sylvia Wider Amber, Rose Bacharach, Archie Barnett, Bill Bassuk, Arnold Belinsky, Paul Blumenthal, Louis Bratt, Stuart Kahn, Colleen Cohen, Daisy Cohen, Sammy Cohen, Mauricio Cohen, Lowell Davies, Eugene Dubik, Sylvia Dubik, Leonard Efron, Stephen Jacob Efron, Aileen Eisenstadt, Arthur Evans, Minnie Fine, Robert Feynman, Beth Fiddleman, Harry Field, Samuel Fisher, Beverly Fuente, Dennis George, Lori Gilbert Kay, Victoria Gold, Abraham Golikow, Andrea Goodman, Ruth Goodsit, Rachel Greenberg, Leo Heilbroom, Sam Hine, Bruce Jackson, Samita Jacobs, Richard Jaffe, Shandel Katz, Daniel Kleinberg, Arthur Korn, Max Krasnick, Noah Benjamin Levy, Henry Lichtenstein, Marvin Liebrich, Peter Liebschultz, Jeffrey Loeb, Corolla Loeb, Marcia Lovick, Edna Lutbeg, Olga McCarty, Bernard E. McCoy, Milton Munitz, Celia Miller, Kenneth Morrison, Samuel Moskowitz, Margaret Newman, Izzy Nutinsky, Shern Platt, Milton Sidney Rawit, Frank Rosen, Len Rosenstein, Henry Rosenthal, Rachel Rosansky, Irvin Rubin, Richard Herschel Rubin, Herman Louis Rudolph, Jacob J. Rudolph, Ida Schaefer, Seal Schechter, Margaret Sharon, Samuel Silver, Roy Solomon, Edna Speaker, Sylvia Stein, Jacob Stein, Bertram Steinman, Morris Udell, Esther Udoff, Samantha Waddell, Lillian Glickman Willis, and Henry Zamost. Perhaps you've come to say Kaddish tonight and there's a name that I have not called. As I come around the congregation, please rise and share that name with us. We rise as a community and join together in Kaddish Tome, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bi'alma tivrach irtei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon u'vyomechon. U'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'v'isman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'alam u'lomei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shmei Tekudsha Richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be for a blessing. Please put your prayer books down, put your arms around each other if you're comfortable, and we continue with Adon Olam, page 321, or your screens, and get ready to clap.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra. V'yacharei kiklot hakol levado yimloch nora. Vehu haya vehu over vehu yeh Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra. V'hu echad ve'ein sheni lehamshil lo lehavira ve'li reshit ve'li tachlit ve'lo ha'ozeh. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra. V'hu eli v'chai go'ali v'tzur chevri v'yetzara v'hu nisi u'manos li v'nat kosi v'yom Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra. V'yado av kidruki v'yeiti sham be'ayira v'imru li geviati Adonai livet lo ira. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa v'chefso kol hazay melech shemo nikra. Yai lai lai la lai la la lai la lai 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 la lai lai la lai.
As we say Shabbat Shalom, turn to
Shabbat
someone, say Shabbat Shalom. Write a
Shabbat
chat on the
Shalom.
screen. We join together for Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lachem min haaretz. Shabbat Shalom. And we have, I know our intro class dinner is going to be in the social hall. Our tribe dinner is in the activities center, and for everybody else, our festive oneg is right outside. So Shabbat Shalom.
Yes. It's a wrap.